What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Locked On NHL Insider Report. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, and joining us, Seth Toupal of Locked On Wild. The Wild had a very busy day ahead of today's trade deadline.
Yeah, it was a crazy amount of activity. And,
Yeah.
we go from having Chuck Fletcher, who has not been or wasn't a GM that made a lot of moves, maybe
Mhm.
made a move here and there to kind of supplant what he had built with the roster. Bill Guerin coming out swinging and making a ton of moves at the deadline. And it was a lot of fun keeping up with everything today.
And perhaps the biggest move of the entire NHL trade deadline was Minnesota's move to get Marc-Andre Fleury, a three-time Stanley Cup goaltender, and it's only for a conditional first-round pick. I love the trade. How much better do you think that makes the Wild?
Well, I think it gives you a pedigree in that obviously Fleury has had a ton of experience at the NHL level. He's
Mhm.
won he's won at a couple of different stops as well, and he's had some great postseason performances also. So it gives you everything that you're looking for in a goalie. And the thing about this trade is Bill Guerin views this as an opportunity for Fleury's numbers to
Mhm.
improve with a good defense in front of him. In Chicago, a team that's really not going anywhere, not a great defense outside of Seth Jones in front of him. And so the hope is that Fleury will get a boost, will get invigorated by coming to a team that is in the thick of a playoff chase, and that the Wild decor is going to be able to help him out as much as he can help out them. Fleury is
Mhm.
definitely capable of taking some wins for this Wild team, which is something that they didn't have with Cam Talbot and Capo Kakinen. So it's an exciting move for the Wild to say the least, and looking forward to seeing him suit up to get a start, hopefully later this week.
So, what do you think, Seth? Is this enough to get the Wild where they want to be, which is ultimately competing for a Stanley Cup right now, or maybe before the trade? Everyone kind of had them pegged as a low end playoff team, but do you think this can push them to that next level?
I think it can. Early on in the season, they were playing at a level that was on par with any of the other teams
Mhm.
in the Western Conference. They were at the top of the standings for a couple of days before things started to slide. And so Bill Guerin looked at what was causing that skid that the Wild went on, where they went 2-8 in a 10-game span. He added some physicality. He added some help on defense, and he added some
Mhm.
help on the penalty kill, as well as getting Marc-Andre Fleury. So the hope is that all of those issues have been addressed to where the Wild can go on a run and get back to that form that they showed early on in the season. The offense has been one of the best in the NHL all season. And so
Mhm.
the hope is that the help here will sustain that and put this team back up near the top of the standings. I don't think it's a stretch to say that beyond the Avalanche, beyond Calgary, this might be the third best team in the Western Conference now, and can go toe to toe with the likes of St. Louis and Nashville and any of the other teams in the Central to really make a run.
You mentioned the bolster on the blue line with the addition of Jake Middleton from San Jose. Just describe him kind of as a player. Why does he fit in so well for Minnesota? Is it exactly what they were looking for?
I think it is. He comes in. He's 6'3" right off the bat.
Mhm.
So you check that box with getting some size. He is a physical player. He brings toughness. Another box that's checked. He can help out on the penalty kill as well. And so you get a triple whammy with Middleton, and
Mhm.
he could potentially be a guy that sticks around beyond this season. So he checks a lot of boxes, and with a couple of smaller defensemen on the back end for this Wild team, he is a guy that I think can definitely slot into the lineup immediately. And I think he is going to make his presence felt, which is exactly what this Wild team needs.
Okay, here's the last, but kind of a tough question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You mentioned the two juggernauts in the West, obviously Calgary and Colorado, two great teams, very well built teams. And you said that Minnesota might be the third best team in the West. Can they compete with those two teams just mentioned, Calgary and Colorado?
I think they can, because the thing that will make this different than just any of those regular season matchups
Mhm.
during the year is that you got a full series
Yeah.
to try some things, to attack a team a different way. And yes, in a vacuum, the Avalanche and the Flames have had success against the Wild during the regular season, but there have been a lot of factors that kind of go into that as well. To where if you're playing the same team in a 5-game, 7-game series, there's a lot that can change, especially
Mhm.
from the standpoint of the team that is the underdog. So I think absolutely the Wild can contend with those two.
It's that's one thing we just have to put out there. Obviously, every team that seems to be competing, the big dogs, for lack of a better term, in the NHL, seem to have added something to their rosters at this trade deadline. So it's going to make for a very, very exciting entire playoff series, or multiple series, I should say.
Yeah, it was an absolutely
Yeah.
chaotic and crazy trade deadline. A lot of teams that are entrenched in the playoff picture got
Hmm.
better, and
Exactly.
it was nice to see the Wild be one of those teams. Um, Now it's just a sprint to the finish, and I think we're all excited to see how that unfolds.
And that's right. The NHL, with about 20 games left in the season for every respective team. It's going to be an exciting finish for everybody. I thank you, Seth, for taking the time to join us to discuss the additions for the Minnesota Wild. And we'll be watching as the season comes to a close.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
And a big thank you to all of you for tuning in to another edition of Locked On NHL Insider Report. We'll see you next time.